We're not screaming. We're streaming. You hear that? It's pretty cool, huh?
Marvelous.
Isn't it wonderful? All right. Welcome. Welcome today. Come into our little boudoir where we're going to have a chat. I've got a very special guest today. She's been practicing her very best smiles. Mm-hmm. I just said you've been practicing your very best smiles for the camera. So this lovely lady here is my mummy. Hello, mummy.
Hello, my daughter.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, my daughter.
And welcome everyone out there to Sophie's Voice. Episode number 11. We're up to 11 now we've done. Marvellous, hey? Marvellous, yes.
Marvelous.
So, how are you today?
I'm marvelous.
You're marvellous, yeah. Don't forget to speak nice and loud for the microphone.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to speak nice and loud. Articulate.
Huh?
Articulate. Speak clearly. All right. So, So, how are you? You well?
I'm more than right, Mummy. I am perfect.
Well, yes. Anyone who knows you knows that. Yeah.
There's not a thing wrong with me.
Not a thing wrong. So, were you always a bit of a clown, Mama?
I don't know what the word means. I have to look it up, Mama. I don't know what that word means, Mummy.
Clown.
And as a matter of fact, I've got a few hit men watching this, so and anyone who's rude to me, they usually disappear from this world.
Be warned, everyone. Don't be rude to my mama. There's hitmen out there.
In a very loving way.
Oh, yes. Send them into the arms of Jesus.
Yeah, I just put them in a plastic bag and say goodbye. They don't say goodbye again because they're too sad to leave.
Yeah. Right, so here we are, streaming, not screaming, and with my mummy. And
How much did it cost?
which bit? Which bit?
You said it was your money.
With my I don't remember that. What was that? I don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
screening with my money.
Oh. Can't remember that. Sorry, you lost me.
You actually should with my money.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, you got to fill me in. I'm a bit slow. So, what can I do? What can I do? Can't keep up with me, Mum. So, what year were you born in, Mummy?
The year of 1920, at the very last day of 28.
1928.
It was a good year for mums.
Good year. A jolly long time ago, I'd say.
About 97 years ago, Mama.
Yeah.
96.
So, I was thinking we're in 2025 now. So, 6, 7,
In 28,
8.
I'll be at
So, you
100.
got 3 more years, you'll be your 100th year. So, we just got to hang on for a couple and we'll have a big party, huh?
Then we'll have a big splurge.
A big blurge and a splurge.
That's the word I'm looking for.
That's the one, yeah. Okay.
Yes, Mummy.
Yep, that'll be good.
Good.
That'll
Adam
be good, yeah.
He's a good-looking bloke, that, isn't he?
Who?
Adam Good.
Right, yeah.
A lot of good, solid black man.
What? Sorry, how did we get there?
Didn't take me long to latch on to something like that.
To be thinking of that
I like
solid
big
black man.
I like solid black men.
Yeah.
I don't like talking about nuts and bolts.
Right, just black men.
Yeah, the blacker the better.
Yeah, is that right? Wow, the things you learn. Okay, all right. So we were going to talk about some things.
When I worked at the, what was that cafe called in Melbourne?
Well, yeah, we were talking about how you moved to Melbourne when you were a little kid, and then you Used to hang out in Melbourne town.
Came to Melbourne in a vegetable moving truck.
Wasn't it a furniture
I don't think
truck?
It's a vegetable, I think. I was brought home from school one day. In the middle of school day, they brought me home from school. And they put me in this bus, in this moving van, vegetable.
Furniture van?
Furniture van. And we went for a long drive from Bendigo to Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And we arrived up in the other side of Luna Park.
Mm-hmm.
15 Wordsworth Street, down near the beach.
Mm-hmm. So you spent a lot of time at the beach, eh?
And I used to take my little girl down.
Your
to
little
the
sister?
beach, my little sister.
Barbara?
And I often forgot her and had to go back and get her.
Oh, we should give a shout out to Auntie Ray might watch this. I'll have to tag you, Auntie Ray, so you can watch this. So your little sister, Auntie Ray.
She's my half-sister, Mummy.
Well, she's your sister and she might be watching, so don't say anything rude. Or try not to. Ray would understand anyway. But anyway, shout out to Auntie Ray if you're watching. And
Hello, Auntie Ray.
yes. And so, yes, you came down to Melbourne. And when you were a young woman, you were very idealistic, I believe, and you had lots of things you were interested in. You wanted to be a communist at one stage, is that right?
I wanted to change the world through communism.
Mm-hmm. Went to work in a factory?
All men are equal, yeah. And up to that stage, I'd been brought up in a very protected environment. And then I was thrust into the world of men.
Ooh.
And you know what men are like in the tropics, Sister Crow, said my nursery sister. And I said, no, I don't, Mum, I don't know what men are like at all.
So the nurse used to say that to you, the matron used to say that to you?
The head nurse in the ward where I worked.
Yeah.
She said, and then you came to Melbourne and you went to the tropics, and she said, you know, we all know what men are like in the tropics, Sister Crow. I said, oh yes, sister.
Hadn't heard that saying before.
Uh-huh.
Hadn't heard that saying before. I've never heard it before. I've heard you say it, but I've never heard it before.
What men are like in the tropics.
Yeah, you know what men are like in the tropics. Ooh, interesting thought.
Well, I think those were the days when everything was good, was proper.
Mm.
But when you went up north, it was like the world is today, really loose and naughty.
Right, yes, loose and naughty. That is a good description of today. All right, so you went to Melbourne. Tell us the story about when you decided to become an artist. Do you remember the story about sitting on the banks of the Yarra? And then you had an epiphany, and everything looked like particles and of light, and you decided that was.
Well, I've almost forgotten that. It's so
Yeah.
real. You wouldn't think you'd forget a thing like that, would you?
Yeah, and it made you believe that you were meant to be an artist.
Well, that was a real, what's the word, epiphany?
That's the one. And then you went and signed up for the art gallery.
Murray Griffin was the teacher.
Yeah.
Handsome young man.
Yeah.
And I did some still lives with him, and he said to me, you're going to go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting. I didn't give enough attention to my talent.
Right. Well, you started
I
off,
think I took it for granted.
and you started off painting, and then you discovered clay, eh?
Did I, Mummy?
Well, you didn't, because I
What
don't
did
remember.
I do then, Mummy?
Well, I just know that you didn't really continue with the painting. When you were talking about the instructor at the gallery,
Murray
that was
Griffin.
painting, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember you sort of continuing with the painting. But you always, in later years anyway, that you always have a sketchbook with you. You're a really brilliant sketcher, and you've always been sketching all the time. But I never remember seeing you painting. But I remember hearing the story about.
In those days, oil paints were extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So not many people did it because it was very expensive.
Yeah. But you first got hold of a piece of clay when you were pretty young, didn't you?
I don't remember that, Mummy.
And I think you did a little portrait of Tito, maybe Uncle Tito.
Oh, that's right. Did a portrait of Henry.
Oh, Henry, yeah.
And Titus, Leslie's husband.
Mhm.
Titus Weiss, Joanna's father.
Mhm.
That's right. So I did.
Yeah, and so you took to the clay pretty naturally, like a fish to water. So clay became your main medium as an artist.
I don't remember it really quite like that, but it's quite possible, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember doing sculptures of Charlotte and I when we were little?
Like the ones in the sitting room.
Yeah.
That's those both of Charlotte, aren't they? Those three.
There's one of me. There's one of me, and there's two little
There's
babies.
two babies.
Of Charlotte.
Two babies. And the head is
Charlotte's
you,
my
is it?
sister.
No.
I was just telling anyone that's watching that Charlotte's my sister, my big sister. And you did I remember you were starting to get commissions to do sculptures. Like there was one of a fountain someone wanted for a kindergarten teacher. And you did a sculpture of a baby with a bucket on its head with the water flowing.
You know, I've forgotten all about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was lovely. That was
Yeah.
a lovely sculpture.
Yeah.
What a good idea.
Yeah. I wonder what happened to it. So there was a bucket over the head and the water was coming out of the bucket and going all over the little...
baby. What a lovely idea.
Yeah.
Wonder what happened to that sculpture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fired clay, so it's probably still sitting in someone's garden.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. So yeah, old Melbourne town. You used to hang out in old Melbourne when you were a young woman. And there's...
What's the difference between old Melbourne town and new Melbourne town?
Well, old Melbourne town was, 60 years ago.
When I was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't old when I was there. It was the same with me.
The same. So you used to hang out at the...
I used to sit on the corner of Collins Street and Swanson Street, where there's a statue of Burke and Wills.
Yeah.
That's where the Burke and Wills expedition started from, that corner.
Uh-huh.
So there's a big statue there on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
It's Collins Street, where the tram goes all the way up Collins Street, past the Athenaeum Theatre, where I used to work as an actress. I mean... a waitress? No. What was I?
Usherette?
That's it.
That's the one. You used to work at the Athenaeum Theatre. Right.
And the next corner up the street was that Queen Street, something like that, William Street. That was the church where all the little churches joined together, and it was called the Uniting Church. For the first time, that was the first uniting church in Melbourne.
Right.
Before that, there were a lot of little churches like Presbyterian,
All of them.
the little churches.
Yeah.
And they all became,
United.
that's the one, United Church.
Yeah, right. And we were talking about the Swanson family pub a little while ago.
Dear old Swanson, that was a lovely pub. I loved going to the Swanson of a Friday night. I worked at the stock exchange.
I don't think you did. So you were at Mr. and Mrs. Dunn's cafe.
Oh, that's right.
That was up the road from the Athenaeum, was it? Oh no, from the Tivoli.
That was in a little street between Collins Street and the next street. Going that way was little Burke or little whatever little comes next. That was where the Dunn's Cafe went from George's. George's was a very posh cafe.
Department store
in Collins Street, and it went right through to Little Collins Street. That's where the Dunn's Cafe was. Papa and Mama done. That's where I worked for them in the cafe. And all the Tivoli people used to go there, and they called me Arletty.
And Arletty was a European movie star, was she?
French actress.
French actress.
We had a theatre in Melbourne which showed European people called the Savoy.
Ah, yeah. But you didn't work there. You
The
worked
Savoy
at the...
Theatre. No, I didn't work there.
But you worked at the Athenaeum, was it?
I worked at the Athenaeum.
And they used to play
pictures
like
of
English films or something, is that right?
English. It was all English films.
Yeah.
I loved working there. I used to see the films again and again. I never got tired of watching, taking in all part, like the background and how they did things. That was very interesting.
Yeah. And then you fell in with the Bohemian crowd in Melbourne, the artistic crowd. From the gallery, you started going to parties with artists, and then you met up with the Reeds, Sunday and John Reed, and Neil Douglas, and of course my father, Robert Langley, the sculptor, and just trying to trigger some memories here for you. So you used to hang out with Sunday and John Reed a bit, and not getting anything?
They were the richest people in Melbourne, and they lived in Heidelberg, and their place was called Heidi.
Mm-hmm. And that was a bit of a centre for the artistic community.
It was a great honour to be a friend of Sunday Reed, I tell you that.
Yeah.
She was a very influential and important intellectual personality in Melbourne. She belonged to one of the richest families in Melbourne. She was not to be taken lightly, and yet she was very accessible. Yeah, she took a liking to me, I think.
Yeah. And so there was a few people that have turned out to be famous that were hanging out there, wasn't there? Like
Neil and Robert.
Neil Douglas and the Boyds. Were they connected
Oh,
in there?
Mary Percival, Mary Boyd Percival. She married John Percival.
Yeah.
Dear Mary, she was very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lovely friendship. Mary and I, we used to have a lot of parties, like just put on classical music and everyone go wild dancing in the bush madly,
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen.
What was that?
The people who live inside me, and sometimes I try to get out.
Oh. We could do something about that. So yes, that's right. Where were we? In the Bohemian crowd back in Melbourne, and
Neil Douglas.
And he had an amazing garden. Neil had an amazing garden.
Do you know, Mummy?
No, Neil Douglas. He was an amazing gardener. He
found an empty house in that town. What was it called?
Research? Is that the one you mean? Or
Research.
Yeah, I remember that
one. He found an empty house in Research, so he just moved in. Nobody was in it, so he moved in and nobody ever said anything. He lived there all his life. Still doesn't know who that was. And then there was that Alan Marshall put his caravan on his land.
Yeah.
And then I lived opposite. I don't know why I was living somewhere, but I could look down on the Douglas's property. I don't remember.
Well, you lived in his house for a little while, didn't you, when you were pregnant with me?
Oh, yeah, I had a room with Lyndon.
That's when I was in your tummy. Correct?
Well, I'm not actually sure. I can't really remember. I don't remember you being born exactly. But I lived in a room with Lyndon, and I lived near a window, and the foot of my bed was where the window landed, and animals used to come through the window all
Is
through
there a
the
story
night.
about a possum jumping in and making that possum noise? Scaring you, yeah. I remember that story.
I don't.
Is that right? All right, what else? What else can we talk
Roni,
about?
remember Roni?
Yeah. What?
Roni and Charlotte were about the same age, and they used to do potty time together. They'd be sitting together in outside the window, outside the window of the house where we had our fire. There would be near the tank. Charlotte and Roni would both be sitting there on their potties having a nice little chat.
So, what else can we talk about? So you wanted to become an artist when you were young, but you just ended up, like, you got to know a lot of different artists and intellectuals in Melbourne.
Mr. Swanson.
Yeah, so talk about the Swanson family pub a bit.
It's that the greatest crime they've done to Melbourne was to remove all signs of the Swanson family. There's such a volume of knowledge and stories surrounded with that pub. It's a tragedy that they've just put a modern building in the place where the Swanson family used to stand. I mean, it's almost like sacred ground, you know, and they've just wiped it out. It's a real crime. I get very upset about that.
So
Such a lot took place in that pub.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a meeting place for people, hey?
Yeah, it was artistic. It was the art place where the artists gathered.
Yeah, right.
That's when I worked at the telephone exchange
All right.
up the top of Melbourne was the telephone exchange. Long distance.
Yeah.
It was called long distance. I think I call it trunks now.
Well, it's been a while since I called them trunks even, I think. But so is that like with you sitting in front, you got cords and you're plugging them in for connecting people? Yeah, right. All right. And so your first job was in printing, wasn't it? Or one of your first?
Directo plate was sort of a type of printing. It was the other side of up past the library. You know, the big place where all the pictures are. What's it called?
Gallery.
The gallery, art gallery.
Well, it's not the old where it used to be.
Just past the art gallery.
Where the art gallery used to be.
Street, and there's the Melbourne Tech was on the other corner. That's Melbourne's biggest technical college. And just along from there, up a few steps, that's where I worked at a place called Director Plate. Mr. Dunn, I think it was that, his name was Mr. Dunn, was in charge of
I remember you talking about you were a duffer, is that right?
I beg your pardon. Yes, I was a duffer.
And so they used to have big glass plates and you had to go and check them or something?
The way they did printing in those days was with this big glass negative, and the job of the duffer was was opaque, was to spot out any little spots so that when they used to turn the glass plate, they photographed it somehow onto a metal plate. So the metal plate was then put on the printing machine and inked, and then the roller came down and made a copy. And that you had three different, usually it was a three colour. So you have three different plates with the three colours, and they all had to be exactly in line, you know. Come out all right.
Was that newspapers or magazine, or do you remember what it was they were printing? can't remember. Probably magazines if it's multicoloured. And so at some point you sort of gave away the whole artistic community and became a bit more religious. And then after the kids left home, you did a lot of travelling in your car, travelling around Australia.
Living with Aboriginal people.
So you did quite a few times around Australia, eh?
I loved that. I loved visiting the Aboriginal people. And then one Aboriginal lady said to me, "You're not like," I told her this before, I think, a couple
That's
of
all right,
times.
you can tell them.
"You're not like the other sister, you're like one of us." That was a big compliment.
And you used to go out hunting goanna and stuff like that. Do you remember that?
No.
No. All right. All right, what else?
You just pull the goanna out by the tail and hit its head on against a tree, and that was dinner.
Yeah. All right. Can you think of anything else to talk about? What would you like to talk about?
Lyndon, Roni, who else was there?
Niels.
Nothing's coming, Mummy.
Nothing's coming. It's the camera's drying you up a bit. You normally got a lot to say.
Inspire me, Mother.
Inspire you. I'm trying. After we have a little tradition on the podcast that after we finish, we pull out a topic out of the pumpkin pot, a little bit of paper that talks about a topic. And last week we took out a topic, and it was self-health. And I don't know why I put it in there. I can't remember what I was thinking, but I suppose it's a bit about self-care and stuff like that. I was wondering if you got any thoughts about that, about...
What does it mean? Self-care?
Well, taking care of yourself, ways to look after yourself and make sure that you're well and looking after yourself so that you're not getting depressed and stuff like that, I guess. Have you got any ideas about that? About how you...
Nothing at all, Mummy.
about how you stop yourself getting depressed? Did you ever get depressed when you were younger?
Never.
Right, okay. All right, so anything else? You want to talk about God or anything like that?
Oh, yes, okay. God Almighty.
God Almighty, that one, yeah. So that's been a big theme in your
Almighty.
life?
Yes.
So you grew up in the church? You grew up going to church when you were
Yes.
little? Can you try and elaborate a bit?
Yes, all right. Well, I grew up in the church.
So you were in a family of 6 girls?
I was in a family of 6 girls. And I had a mother
And a mother?
and a drunken daddy.
A drunken daddy? And that's why you had to escape, hey?
Well, I had to escape.
In the furniture van.
The local people down in Bendigo said to my mother, she has to leave that man or the children will be taken from her. She was given an ultimatum, so she just had to leave. And she came down to Melbourne and lived with Grandma, her mother, my Grandma Gibbs.
And
And Isabel, my mother's younger sister, who was an extremely glamorous woman. And she terrified me. She was so glamorous. I had to sit on her knee when we came to Melbourne to travel down.
so was she like a flapper, is that right?
She was the latest modern thing.
Yeah.
I don't think they were called flappers.
Okay. And so wherever you moved to a new place, your mum always first thing she did was work out where a church was, is that right?
First thing she'd do was find out the local church, exactly.
Yeah. And she used to sing in the choir?
She was a very good soprano, yes.
Yeah. And normally I can't shut her up. I don't know what's going on.
And my father, John
John Miller Crow.
Miller. She used to call him Miller, always called him Miller. I don't know where the Miller came from, actually. It must have been a family name. My mother called her husband Miller.
And he was a musician.
He played the cornet. And me and my sisters, we thought he was just like Harry James. Completely different. A little cornet, you know, it's only about that big. And Harry James's trumpet, really big stuff, you know.
Yeah, right.
We always gave our father the glamorous sort of.
But you did find people, you met a woman once who remembered your father's family.
Yes, she remembered every member of the family played a musical instrument. They were the Crows of,
Traralgon?
that's the one, Traralgon.
Yeah, right.
They were quite a famous family, apparently, in down that way.
Right, so they were all musicians.
Every member of the family played a different instrument, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you haven't got any ideas about how to look after yourself that you could give? What advice would you give to younger people about how to get through life if they're struggling?
How to get through life without struggling.
If they are struggling.
Just give in to every impulse. Enjoy yourself while you're young. Don't listen to your parents. And tell God you've got your own life to live. Is that all right?
That's great. Yeah, okay. So what do you reckon is the secret to a long life? Just everything you just said.
Drinking plenty of beer.
A long time since you drank beer, to be honest. Like, just so that people know, it's a long time since you were a beer drinker. You're tea all the way for a long time.
Yeah. Let's see, about it, I think, Mummy.
Yeah, that about it? All right. Well, maybe next time, maybe if we do it again, you'll be a bit more relaxed and you'll remember a few more things. Because normally you can remember lots of things, but not a lot coming today. What about any songs? Any songs you want to sing?
I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I overlooked before. Da 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 that I overlooked before.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to get the pumpkin pot. We've got to pick out a subject for the next week. I think hopefully I'll get in touch with
pumpkin, Mummy.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It's
my pumpkin pot.
It's beautiful, Mother.
Yeah. Do you want to put your hand in and pull out one piece of paper? End times. Oh, that'll be good. Actually, I got Karen on next week, hopefully. I'll check in with Karen and make sure she's coming, but that might be fun. So end times, so that'll be a good topic for next week, but that's been a bit of an interesting theme in your life as well, hasn't it? You've always felt like you were living in the end times. You don't remember that? Yeah, okay. And you got lots of books by people talking about the end times and the mark of the beast and all that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did I do then, Mummy?
You don't have to worry about it anymore, do you?
No.
All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there. We'll say goodbye to the people. They're up there, that one. Goodbye, people.
Bye, people. You be good for your mother now.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.